Hello. I am going to drive around a little bit. I don't work till 11. Okay. My heart is racing just saying that. Like, I have a whole hour and I'm not doing laundry. I'm not doing the dishes. I'm not cleaning the floor. I'm not worrying about someone else. That's hard for me. I've been trained so well to just be here for everybody, you know? So, I don't work till 11. It is 10:03. I want to aimlessly drive and talk to you because this is what I want to do. I hate seeing dead babies on the side of the road. I hate seeing dead animals on the side of the road. It makes me sad. Because whenever we drive by, Matt always goes, the baby. That's why I'm always like, the babies. Any hoozle. Okay, so I came here to talk about how, while I was at the gym today, I explained to my friend Brian how I think I do. I literally watched a video that I already know I shared of me being like, I know I don't have arthritis. I know I don't. I think I have arthritis. My finger is like it's like twisting. So that's fun for me. Literally getting my witch finger. It's working. I can feel it. I feel it happening. Thank you. But so I was explaining to Brian how I'm going to go to a hormone doctor. I think I need to be put on more testosterone. We talked about it. Talked about how Matt's on testosterone because when he got his levels checked, they were like, how are you not only going to work all day and then going straight to the gym for an hour and a half, but how do you even have enough energy to wake up in the day to go to work? And Matt said, strictly willpower. And I looked at him, I go, that's what I've been living on the last 4 years. The will to be alive. The will to want to try. The will, the power I have in myself to want something is huge. And I want to be here and I want the life I'm creating, even though everything's being pushed against me to like stop me. And I was like, and that lethargic feeling is, lack of testosterone too. And he goes, you know what? He's like, I was explaining to Jen, his wife, how I've been so he goes like, I wake up, do all my things and go to the gym, come home. Like, I need to take a nap. Like, I'm exhausted. And I was like, get your testosterone checked. Just give it a look, And he's like, I'm going to. He's like, huh. And I'm like, yeah, I think this could be a large problem in a lot of people's lives. And we don't think to check it. That's weird. I'm being called to say that. I feel like no one thinks we should test our testosterone and estrogen levels just to see if they're even working properly. I rewatched a podcast that I've shared already. I watch it before I post it to make sure I'm watching my, P's and Q's and what I'm saying, all the things. Okay? When I watched it, it was like you have to have both the feminine and masculine energy. Me and Jordan were talking about that, how you have to have both. And I'm like, I think if all of us aren't equal in those hormones in our body naturally, we should look at that. Because if you are a high estrogen person, I think I would love to know that. That will help me understand you more than it should, okay? Because of how much I've changed becoming a high estrogen person. And I'm going like this because I'm assuming, because I haven't got my labs drawn yet, but I am upset though because I apparently didn't get my estrogen levels drawn when I was trying to get pregnant because I'm not seeing them on my chart. But they checked the testosterone. But I'm like, I would love to say my testosterone was out of whack over the max capacity line, and my estrogen was on the underside too. So I was like this. Now I feel like I'm like this. And my body is like, bleh. Like this, when I was here, I remember when I was here, and now I think it's been going like this. So now I need to bring it back. I'm like, does that make sense? Do I sound crazy? Okay, so me and Brian were talking about that. So we just discussed, and we're all gonna go get our shit checked, okay? 1, 2. Then I always go on the bike. Today I did 2.5 miles in 11 minutes and 14 seconds, and I only remembered that because I was trying to hit 11:11. But I missed. So my knees, so I have to do the bike to get me moving, get me rolling. I have to get loosey-goosey because I have arthritis. I just saw a blue jay. Hello. I have arthritis, so I have to get her warmed up. We need warm-ups. And I can't just go straight to stretching to warm up before that. It has to go to the running, biking movement first. It just helps me. Okay, so I did that. Then I did a push day. Talked to Brian. Went over to the purple turf. Did some abs. Whilst doing abs, I had realized and remembered. Quit interrupting yourself. I was doing abs at the end of every gym session. The whole year and a half, I was losing my 100 pounds. And 2-year, timeline, 100 pounds. My stomach was definitely tighter. I could tell just from a year ago me to today that my stomach hangs different than it did last year. And I'm like, why did you stop doing abs? And then I think, why? Because when my hips are on fire, when I'm in my period, I can't even think about getting on the floor and laying there and trying to do it. It just hurts to even think about it. So I just wouldn't do it. I'd skip it. Then it just gets to the next week and we move on. And if it's not in front of me or written down, and I don't check my gym thing anymore. I need to start doing that again, Jessica. I'm yelling at me now. You have to start going back to the whole workout list that Matt created for you that I was following this entire time. I dabble now and do some things now. And focus on, I will say, instead of doing so much, I do less but harder, stronger weights. So I was I'm moving less, but I'm pushing out more energy than using it. I don't know. Weird. Okay. Well, so I just quit doing abs, and I'm like, stop. So now I have to do abs again. So I'm sitting doing abs, and I'm like, I love abs. I love doing sit-ups. I love putting on a song and laying down and be waiting for the beat drop. That's, have fun. You're there to have fun. You're at your playground. This is you're on recess. You aren't needed to be serious right now. Just go have fun. Just do it. Just do it. Let's see. So then, have fun doing that. So I go to walk out. Please hold. This is blinding me and loud. Thank you. So I walk out of the purple turf past the bikes to leave because I'm done now. And I walk past Grandpa Gene, who I mentioned in, I think, 1 or 2, first or second episode. So I start talking to him. He told me the last time I passed him at the gym that he got shots in his knees. So he's on the bike now. It's the sit-down bike where you're kind of laid back, just moving your legs. So I walk over and go, how the knees feeling? And he was like, they're moving. I go for my second injection tomorrow, and out of 3, he's like, I'm excited. I was like, oh, that makes me excited for you. And then, just talked about that for a minute, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. And he's like, have a good day. I was like, you too. And I go to walk away. And I was like, oh, I wanted to tell him that he made it on the podcast. So I walk over and I walk back and I go, wait, I want to tell you something. And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I was like, I'm creating a podcast. Did I tell you that? And he goes, you did tell me that you're making a podcast. I was like, okay. So, you already made it on the podcast because I recorded something right after we talked one day that we were in here. I walked out and immediately recorded and talked about the conversation I had with Grandpa Gene. And he said, oh, Grandpa Gene. And I went, yeah. And I was like, so you're on there. And he's like, okay. And then he proceeds to tell me a story about how there is a neighbor boy that when he was a little kid, he would run around barefoot and he was this high. That's how the neighbors in my neighborhood would describe me. I was barefoot, climbing fences, being a rascal. So he was like, he would come over and be like, Grandpa Gene, and he was like, I was like, I love that. And then he said, well, now he's not this big, you know, he's bigger and he rides around an electric scooter. And I was like, okay. And he was like, he came to me the other day and was like, hey, Grandpa Gene, I need you to change my tire. And I was like, oh, to have a neighbor that's your like grandpa vibes, it's the best. It's, oh, that's so sweet. Especially if you don't have a grandpa, you know, or have someone that you could call on to do grandpa things. And grandpa things in Jessica's brain is to fix stuff. Because that's what both my grandpas could do. You give them anything, they could fix it. That's what I love most about my husband. I could give him anything. He's going to be the best grandpa. Everyone should be able to call on him because he could fix it. And I love that. That is admirable to me. So, oh, hi. Tiniest cemetery ever. I say hi to every cemetery. I go, hi, friends. Anyway, so I was talking to him about that. And then he proceeds to say something about his wife. And then I proceed to say something about Matt. It's getting a little foggy. Don't remember. But all I remember is saying, what's your wife's name? And he was like, Verna. I was like, oh, that's such a sweet name. And I go, is she like a ball of fire or is she like a sweet lady? And he just started laughing. He goes, well, lately. And we both just laughed. So he didn't even answer that. It was just so sweet and cute. So then he proceeds to tell me how they met, how they had their first kiss. It was spin the bottle. And I'm going to turn right here because this is my flower field that I loved to visit while it was up and running, and it's not currently. And I think because it's not, and this space has called me so often, I want to call that. I think it's that house that owns this property that you could like rent it. That's interesting. I want bees and flowers, a bees and flower field, and then honey. Ooh, I have the heat a blast. Let me turn that down. I just want to sit and enjoy. And I'm gonna turn my car off. Okay, no, it's too windy from that side. I want to hear the birds. So, hello. There's a bird just sitting there staring at me like, what do you want? So we proceed to talk about Verna and him and their first kiss at a spin the bottle party. And he was in charge of the switch of like how long you have to kiss to like turn the light off or not. I thought that was sweet. How innocent the story was like so sweet to me. He said he came there with a different date and his wife came there with a different date, but he ended up walking her home because they kissed so much and spin the bottle because it just happened to keep landing on them. And I just thought that was so sweet. And then he asks, how did you and your husband meet? And I was like, I love that he asked. Like, I ask, you know? Because I do care. I want to know. I asked what your wife's name was, and I love that you told me how you kissed her 100 times by a washing machine. Like, I think that's adorable. Like, we need to be sharing these sweet moments and stories because these are those stories that create us, okay? So I was like, thank you so much for asking. I was like, actually, I was at Taco Bell with my friend Sam, and her boyfriend was my husband's best friend. So we were there. I was there with a date that I literally dated for like a month. And he's like, okay. I was like, it was a fling. It was like, sure, I'm hanging out with you guys. Why not? So, which, ew. But, so then we all were there, and then my husband and his girlfriend at the time walk in, and they join, and we all introduce ourselves. And Matt said he thought to himself, I just really want to get to know her. When he met me, he saw me and thought that immediately. And I was like, I didn't think much. I thought he was cute, but I was like, that's your girlfriend and I have a date. And, you know, I just didn't think that was ever, I didn't think anyone would think of me like that if I wasn't available. That's weird. Okay. Didn't tell that to Grandpa Gene, just to you guys. Congratulations. So I just proceeded to tell him that I'm at Taco Bell. I'm being there. And Matt walks in, and we, like, lock eyes. And I thought he was cute, but he was like, I want to get to know her. But, you know, I didn't think we had a chance because, you know, there's a girlfriend involved. And I'm not going to do that. And he's like, right. So then I was like, so maybe like a month later, we go to a Halloween party. I go, I'm dressed like a nerd. I have suspenders, glasses, freckles, like a bow tie, a tie, I think. I go super nerdy, funny. And we ended up being beer pong partners. And I also was like, where's your girlfriend? And she was either in the bathroom or she was just out at the party, out, you know, hanging out in the living room rather than playing the game. But I want to play the game. I love to play. So you have to entertain me. So, or I will entertain myself somehow. So we played beer pong together, and we were flirting and stuff. And I was like, whoa. He's super cute and older and funny. So funny. Made me cackle laugh. And then, you know, a few days pass, and he messages me and says that he wants to get to know me. And I'm like, you have a girlfriend. We're not doing that. He proceeds to break up with her that day. And the next day took me on our first date, and we went to Texas Corral. And he asked me if he could kiss me for the first time, and I said yes. And we were like, oh, I love that. What a sweet story. And Grandpa Gene looked at me and goes, you and I are on similar paths. And I told him how he said right when he got out of high school, it was like the next day he started at U.S. Steel and been working until he couldn't. And I go, I graduated high school June 5th. By July 5th, I was my first day of beauty school. I go, didn't want to skip a beat. Let's just get it rolling. And so when I said that earlier, then we continued. He goes, you know, our paths are the same. Maybe they look a little bit different, but a lot sounds alike. I go, everyone has these stories. Everyone has this version of them where they met their first love, or when they had their first fight, whenever they've had the second time that it actually was, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to come up with something and I can't. But, you know, everyone has a story to tell. So he was like, I love that we're talking about this. And I'm like, yeah, we're people. Oh, we're people. But I just loved him. It was so nice. And it's so nice that people still can create a community if you want to. And you can get along. And you have to see. You can't be wanting to be seen so much that you're mad that no one's seeing you. You need to be seeing too. I hope that makes sense. And I don't sound like just a literal lunatic. But I guess I'll drive back home now. I hope you have a lovely day. And I hope that your first meet story, your first kiss story, or how you fell in love story comes to your mind. And don't ever forget it, because I want you to be able to share that with people in your future, because not just your grandkids want to know your story, other people do too. And I love that. We need to just be better at, I think, talking about ourselves in a non-boastful way, to an extent where we're sharing. I think people get so butthurt when it's like they're always talking about themselves, and it's like, then insert yourself. So it's not them just talking about them. Talk about you too. They are talking about them, so you could throw in stories about you too. They just don't know how to do it. So if they're sitting here talking about them, you have to be the person that goes, oh yeah, that's happened to me before. And they're like, oh, good. It makes them feel better, and they do want to hear it. They just don't know how to be like, has any of this ever happened to you? Is this just me? People don't know how to create conversation anymore, and that's the art we're losing, that I'm going to ensure we don't lose. Think before you speak. Listen to what they're talking about. If it's important to them, pay attention. No matter who it is. Everyone gives good advice. They could be a 10-year-old, and they could give the best advice in the world about how to love yourself. And then it could be a 60-year-old talking about how you need to focus on your finances at a young age to be ready in your future, because they're living it. And they aren't preaching, and they aren't judging that you aren't, and they aren't making you feel bad that you should be. This is their way of giving advice because they care. Because they didn't have someone give this good advice to them. So listen, everyone needs to start approaching certain conversations like a coach is talking to you. And don't be so hurt or mad or stubborn on what they're talking about. If they're giving good advice, hear the words. We need to start being better at hearing what they're saying, not feeling the feelings that they're making you feel by hearing it. You need to hear what they're saying. Listen, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.